All right, I'm up to my hour mark, but I still want to give a review, at least one review. So let me do this because I just got off on talking about a bunch of stuff. Um, Last 2 weeks ago on the live stream, I gave my review of Dark Apprentice, which was the second book in the Star Wars Jedi Academy trilogy, and I neglected to cut that out and put it out as its own little video. Just got busy with the 2 weeks, and I put out a bunch of other cutouts from the stream. So right now I'm going to go ahead and give a short little review about Jedi or Champions of the Force, which is the final book. I've finished out the entire Jedi Academy trilogy, but then I'll probably still cut out my little thoughts on Dark Apprentice first before I cut out and put this Jedi Academy trilogy out. Now that I've read the entire trilogy, I find it a lot harder to say nice things about it. I was still drawing out and pulling nice things when I just read Jedi Search or when I just read. It's just so amateurly written. Let's start with that. Now there are good things that I've said before, and I'll maintain them. Again, let me just say, because I never want to sound like I'm just trashing an author, Kevin J. Anderson has written wonderful things, in my opinion. I love Antibodies that he wrote, the X-Files novel. I love the Batman, Superman, Enemies and Allies, I'm blanking right now. And I love his comic work, particularly his work in the Tales of the Jedi, which is the origins of Exar Kun. I love that. Exar Kun plays a big deal in this. But this here was just so amateurly written. The character development and was like on par with a cartoon, except the whole thing wasn't really child's cartoon depth. Like it was trying to go into deeper areas. Luke's there are things that they're good ideas in it, but they're just not fleshed out enough. The basic idea is Luke has this academy in which he, trains all these Jedi Knights, but you don't really see him training the Jedi Knights much. Every time you see him training, he's either just sort of showing them image from the holocron or, reminding them, remember to keep in touch with your feelings here, go out and teach yourself, go out and do this. And I'm sure maybe in the space of the 3 novels, it's supposed to be a lot longer, and maybe you just have to imagine that he's really trained one-on-one with them a lot more. But by the end of it, you're like, he just brought some of these disparate people together that had a little bit of force sensitivity and, had a few sessions with him, and now we're supposed to believe that they're really great Jedi Knights going out into the world. Like, you didn't develop that. You didn't earn that. You didn't show us that enough. Kip Duran is one of the most annoying, crappy little characters I've ever seen. Maybe he's not later. Maybe when he's developed a bit better in the later EU books, but I can't stand his little twerp butt in this. He's a great villain. When you first meet him, in the Mines of Kessel, he's a cool little character. You kind of feel sorry for him or whatever. But he falls to the dark side like that and does these atrocious things, technically empowered by the Force ghost of Exar Kun. But he takes out Skywalker like a punk, which is ridiculous. That would never happen. If you want to show it, you could have developed it a little bit more. You could have really shown how it's Exar Kun doing it through him and really developed that a little bit more, but you didn't. And then Exar Kun's taken, it's this great, huge threat that Exar Kun's Force Ghost is. He's taken out like that. Doesn't barely an inconvenience, as the pitch meetings say, and then like he's done with. Exar Kun's not even mentioned anymore. He's not a threat. And now Kip Duran's a good guy again, and we're supposed to like him. We're also supposed to accept that he's one of the most powerful Jedi ever now. It's like, I don't care about this guy. You just, what a crappy character. I don't force him down my throat now as one of the best good guys ever. No, he's crappy. There's so many other issues with it. It's so, things just go like that. They're so quick. Admiral Dala is an incredibly laughable. She just throws temper tantrums all the time. She's supposed to be this admiral, and she's supposed to be such a big threat, and she's just a woman throwing little temper tantrums and kills a lot of people in her temper tantrum. Don't get me wrong, she's dangerous, but she doesn't really achieve anything. She just goes out, throws a bunch of temper tantrums, and then just retreats. So I don't really care about her or take her very seriously. They're just really, it's just really poorly written novels, beginning to end. If you're such a Star Wars fan of the characters like me, it's still fun to see them. It's fun to see some things, and there's some really good ideas. It's just that none of them are developed very well. None of them. And I kept trying to give it the benefit of the doubt until I got to the end, So if you're watching my reviews in order, you'll see that in Jedi Search, I was like, well, it's, but it's on Dark Apprentice. I was like, there's some stuff that I don't really like, but blah, blah, blah. I've ended it now, and it's just, I'll never read it again. I'm glad I read it, Very glad I read it, because I think you need to know some certain milestones if you're doing like I am, which is reading the EU in chronological order in terms of the events, you know. So you'll need to know things that happen in this. And I do appreciate, like I said, Kevin J. Anderson was the first author to really try to make all of the novels that came before him in the timeline feel like part of a cohesive universe. You know, he did that well. He brought in a lot of characters and stuff, but it's just not good. Not good at all. What is this weird, bizarre? I really now, you guys who've read a lot of the EU books beyond this is the farthest chronologically I've read in the EU continuity. I've read a lot of the Old Republic stuff, but Jedi Academy as of right now is the farthest I've read in the EU chronology. And they've got this love interest or love story sort of developing a little bit between Winter and Admiral Akbar. That's just weird. That's really weird. Stop it. I remember one of the X-Wing books had a love interest develop between a Bothan woman and a human male. I'm like, that's just weird. That's like some furry crap. No, stop it. You can have like a human and a Twi'lek, you know, or a human and maybe a Togruta or something like that. You know, alien races that are basically humanoid enough, you know. But like a freaking Bothan or a freaking Calamaran? I mean, like, no, a human. How does that even work? Like, no, that's just weird. Stop it. I hope that never develops and becomes a thing. Maybe it does. Maybe you guys know, and I'm just, you know, doomed. But that's weird. Stop it. I know we're dealing with science fiction. I know we're dealing with a universe of these sentient races that have come alongside each other for a long time, and that's fine. But there's some things that are too freaking different. I mean, if rabbits ever super quickly evolved into a sentient race next to us, great. But no human being should ever copulate with one. Okay, it's just weird. No, just stop it. Anyway, yeah, I could go in a lot deeper with it. I just don't like the character development. I don't like the pacing. Good ideas in it. I don't hate every idea that happened in it. Kip Duran's a horrible character. I wish he'd never been created, but I think he does go on. I think I am going to see him more. But I hope that, like Dark Empire. I didn't think Dark Empire was horribly written for a comic book, but I hated the events that take place in Dark Empire. But further EU books came around those events and kind of shaped them and made them more palatable and developed them into a nice continuity, and that's fine. So I'm hoping that the same thing's done for these books in the future chronology that I'm going to go ahead and read. I don't think I'm going to read anything yet. I think I Jedi is the very next book in the chronology, but I haven't read all the X-Files books yet leading up to that. And I know Jedi, you know, has deals with Corrin and so forth. So I want to make sure I finish reading those before I get up to those. What I'll probably start reading in terms of a hard copy book now is book 2 of The Ship's Revenge by Doug Brody, because I read, you know, I'd give a great review because I really freaking loved his book Shelley, and I'm so excited because the sequel to Shelley's coming out in July, I think. I'm really excited about that. And Doug Brady's going to be on my channel. I talked about that a couple of weeks ago on May 31st to talk about some of his work on great movies and some of his literature and everything like that. But I want to read at least the second book in the Ship trilogy before I interview him and talk to him about it. So I think I'll probably read that. I need to talk to Al about when we want to start the Dark Rendezvous book study. So that's going to come up here maybe in May, definitely in May. And yeah, so we'll see. Got a lot more stuff to watch, read, and review.